Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel for our weekly 6-scale recap series, where we'll look at some teases, pre-order announcements, releases for the week, anything newsworthy in the 1/6-scale world that I might not have covered in its own video. And this week started off pretty slow, to be honest. I actually thought that it would be one of the shorter videos with just like 2 or 3 items to discuss, but I should know better at this point, and of course Hot Toys dropped some major goodies on us. But before starting and getting into things for the week, I have to go into my mandatory disclaimer. I'm not affiliated with any of these companies. I'm not affiliated with any resellers either. And I'm not using these videos as sales posts, which is why I don't post links for purchasing any of these figures. The purpose of these is really just for me to discuss interesting news posted essentially on social media that impacts 6-scale figure collecting, and in particular things I find interesting or products that I'm really tempted to get for my own collection. And I do think once pictures go public for announcement, it's pretty much up for discussion. So with that out of the way, let's jump right into things, and we'll start with news updates and teases. And first, actually, just a quick little update. I have to give a big shout out to Ryan at Mr. Mom's Collectibles for inviting me onto his stream this evening. So it'll be my first live stream ever, and I'm really excited to discuss some 6-scale figure news with him. And he has an awesome channel in his own right. If you haven't checked it out, I'm sure you all have at this point. And I will warn you, you will see an abundance of boxes in the background. That's a byproduct of me waiting for Maja cases to come in, so don't judge me too harshly. So that'll be today at 6:15 Eastern time. So again, really excited, and a lot of thanks to Ryan for inviting me on. So moving over to figure teases, the big one that came kind of out of nowhere, announced during Sideshow's Rewind event, was the reacquisition of sorts of the Escape from New York line of collectibles. So Sideshow had done a Snake Plissken 6-scale figure in the past. I'll be honest, while I love that movie, at that point I was a little unsure about Sideshow's 6-scale releases. I have a lot of their older figures, like their G.I. Joe line, some Star Wars releases, and the Indie line, and I did have a number of issues with those, so I was very hesitant to jump onto this one. But recently Sideshow has been putting a lot of figures up for pre-order that have been extremely tempting, and with advances in technology, I'm probably at the point where I'm willing to give them another shot. So basically I'm hoping that we get an updated Snake Plissken, which would start flushing out my, call it, classic movie collection. Not much more to go on at this point, but just an interesting tease, and I'm curious to see where Sideshow goes with the license. It's really nice to me to see some movement on lines other than Star Wars, Marvel, and DC, and again, that's coming from me as a big fan of all of those. So now, moving on to actual announcements. Let's start with this morning's big reveal, which is the Dewback with the Sandtrooper Sergeant. And this was fully revealed at Sideshow Con and then shown at ACGHK, and it's one of the quickest turnarounds that I think we've seen from convention to pre-order. So look, I'm not gonna lie, this is a stunning looking piece overall. I mean, first of all, the sheer scale on this is insane, with about a 1.5 foot length and a 1 foot width and height. And on top of that, imagine having the trooper sitting on top. I know maybe I do this a lot, calling a figure a centerpiece, but I just don't think there's any doubt that this is going to be one of those pieces, and it's going to be a real standout in any collection. I'm still floored by the magnitude of it, the size. And again, I know we saw this at the conventions, but the reveal pics are really just impressive. And before getting into the particulars of the figure and the piece, let's start with the fact that it's actually 4 different versions. So the first option is the full set, which includes the deluxe Dewback, more on that in a little bit, and the figure. So it's the all-inclusive package. Now, if you just want the Trooper, there is a Sandtrooper Sergeant standalone release. And if you only need the Dewback, you get 2 versions. You get a standard version and a deluxe, which was itself surprising. So the key difference here with the deluxe is essentially that you get a swap out arm and jaw, so you can create an open mouth look and a slightly alternate look overall. So there's a lot to cover, but let's start with the Dewback and the standard versus deluxe thing. I think the deluxe is a great idea, and I think having the option to take a static piece and modify it a little bit to give you different looks was really a smart choice by Hot Toys. They have these shots showing the Sergeant and an older Sandtrooper with the orange pauldron on, with Dewbacks. And if you look at them, they having the 2 look different just makes it stand out more. So in advance, I'll say props to any of you who are planning on doing that kind of display, just from the sheer magnitude and space it's going to require. But having the deluxe, I think, is a great option to let you make those 2 versions. I really like that Hot Toys did something a little extra here. So again, continuing on, let's just stick with the Dewback since we're on the topic. The big thing for me is the sculpt and detail work on this. This piece is just outstanding. Reptilian skin looks so real, from the folds on the arms to the paint apps. Hopefully the final product looks like this, because I'm really floored by the work that Hot Toys did here. Detail on the head itself with the scales, the eyes, the nostrils, it's a phenomenal job. There's really not much more to say. I think as a company, looking at the history from the Blur to some of the bigger Star Wars pieces that they've been doing, Hot Toys is really kind of cornering that portion of the market, and I'm hard pressed to find things to complain about here. Now, the Trooper. Look, I'm not the person that usually gets excited about another Trooper release, although I know a lot of you army build, so having the Troopers is key. Having said that, at this point, Hot Toys has Troopers down to an art form, just like their Iron Man pieces. Here they did a great job with the paint apps and really doing a decent effort to weather this guy up. The cooling pack looks great, and he's just a loaded Trooper with the ammo pouches on both sides of his torso and on his shoulder. So he feels like a Trooper that goes on long patrols and has to be fairly self-reliant. So even as a figure, it's a really great release. But again, the appeal of this is the full set. The combined Dewback and Trooper are just great overall. So for me, I do have to say it's a pass, unfortunately, and trust me, it's not an easy one. FOMO is real here, and having a beautiful piece like this is so tempting. I just don't think it's in my budget with so much else coming out. With Star Wars, I've slowly jumped back in, and I've been focusing more on Jedi and Sith characters. For example, I have Obi-Wan, Reva, and the Grand Inquisitor on order, and with the upcoming Ahsoka series, I know there are going to be releases there that I have to pick up, including hopefully a new Admiral Thrawn, so I just have to be careful in what I spend. Cost-wise though, I actually think for what you're getting here, it's a pretty reasonable release overall. Not cheap at all, but pretty reasonable considering the size of the figure. FOMO is real again, I'm not gonna lie. It's a gorgeous looking piece, but I guess that's just part of collecting, right? Knowing that we just can't get everything. Now, the second announcement from Sideshow's event, and one they had also previously teased, David from the Lost Boys. So this was definitely something that piqued my interest when they teased it, just because I liked the movie a lot, and it looks like a really solid release. I think the sculpts look good. Tailoring on the clothing looks great, including the medal and watch that's attached to the overcoat. Plus, from display options, just having the alternate vampire sculpt, the hands and the feet, as well as the option to display him hanging from the cave, the top of the cave, it's a pretty nice set overall. And they're also including the Chinese food containers with the sculpted maggots, as well as the bottle with blood. So it's an overall really amazing looking set, and it's tempting for me. Like I said, I'm starting to carve out a little set of one-off figures from what I'm going to call classic movies, and the Lost Boys is a personal favorite that I do revisit from time to time. The holdup here for me is price. It's expensive, coming at about $285, which is pretty much Hot Toys level. Do I think it's worth that? For me, I think it is. I think you're getting a decent amount of accessories, and it's a licensed figure. So based on what you're getting, I think the cost makes sense. My biggest issue, and I mentioned this earlier with the Escape from New York announcement, it's Sideshow. I'll be honest, I haven't picked up a Sideshow figure in a long time, and just based on my previous experience, I'm a little hesitant to jump on. It's also why I haven't gotten the Pale Rider Clint Eastwood figure yet. I've watched some videos, but I'm still conflicted. And by comparison, you have 3-0 that just put out that amazing looking John Rambo from Rambo 2, and then charged $200 for it. So I know part of the cost has to be associated with the license itself, but I'm still debating with myself. And just like with the Dewback, there are other licenses coming out that might be tempting. But on the other hand, when would we get another figure, another David again? So you can easily tell how conflicted I am on these. If any of you have experience with these more recent Sideshow releases, please let me know. It would be great to get some other collectors' insights on them, just to see how Sideshow's holding up with their recent products. Now, the last announcement is actually from DID Figures, and they do specialize a lot in World War II era releases. And what they're releasing here is a US World War II era pilot. I have a few World War II figures, some Marines and some airborne medics. So those are some pieces that I picked up because they look impressive. And as I've mentioned before, military figures are really some of the most involved, innovative, and impressive pieces you can own. Just the detail work that gets put on these and gets done by some of these manufacturers is impressive, and it's going to floor you. For this one, as soon as I saw the promo pics, I thought I have to pick this guy up. First of all, it just looks awesome with a really great variety of display options. You get the bomber jacket, which is tailored amazingly well. The uniform underneath, with even the ability to tuck in the tie, just looks great. Everything just looks on point and fits well on the figure. And then you get the alternates, which are a lot. You get a full jumpsuit over the base clothing, and then you can put the jacket on top. You get an officer's cap, you get a garrison's cap, you get sunglasses, so you can do different things there. And that's just clothing. Then you have goggles, you have the oxygen mask, a life preserver, a full parachute, radio gear. There's so much you can do with this guy, and the key for me, again, is the attention to detail. It's just phenomenal on these types of figures. Even the gun belt. To me, this is a must-get. I just don't know when we would get another figure like this. DID has done pilots before, but I believe this might be their first American one, and they did a great job. I'm honestly thinking he would also pair nicely with the Hot Toys F-18 pilot I previously unboxed. Kind of a nice display showing the evolution of pilots in the U.S. Army, in the U.S. military. This is one of the reasons why, I'll say, when people were raving about the accessories InArt had with their Joker release, and it's not a knock on InArt, I just wasn't as impressed, because I think if you get any of these military figures in hand, you'll realize quickly how much detail is put into the weapons and the gear. And sometimes, I'll be honest, even Hot Toys weapons don't really hold a candle to what you get with some of these. So I think there are definitely other companies in the market worth looking into that do phenomenal work. So I can't wait to get this figure in hand. I think he's definitely going to impress. And last piece of news for the week was a release. And I honestly thought Hot Toys was going to skip this week, but they ended up dropping the 2.0 Black Panther figure. And if you ordered from Sideshow, I actually think some collectors have already gotten their shipping notices. So people are going to have him in hand soon, which is a really fast turnaround. But look, he turned out great. Really continuing the streak Hot Toys has been on lately. The sculpt, I think, looks almost perfect. The original was a solid figure, and I love having it in my collection. But there's no doubt that you can see just from the pics how nice the new suit looks and how good the fit is. So I do think it's very much an upgrade. I really wanted to get this, but I made the choice to pass given that I did have the original. And again, there's just so much coming out that I really want. But great looking release, and he is already waitlisted on Sideshow, so I think the reality is Hot Toys is doing smaller runs and Sideshow is buying less of these. So if you really want him, hope you manage to pick him up. So again, just a quick look at a few topics of interest in the 6-scale world. And as always, let me know your thoughts on these. And again, just an FYI, I'll be on that stream with Ryan later today, so hope to catch some of you there. As always, thanks for watching, and if you are enjoying the content, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, and we'll touch base on the next video.